Yo, there's something beautiful about Bearcats basketball. High flying.
Kenyon with a jam.
Shot denying.
Miles rejected.
There's just an energy that comes with the Cats. A rich history built on toughness.
And Mick Cronin looks like he wants a technical.
A bring-your-own-lunch pail mentality. For a long time, UC was the hunted.
And I felt that we couldn't lose.
I think it's time the Bearcats do a little hunting of their own.
Once y'all done with them, send them to me, man. You know what I mean? We can put them on the court. Keep that Bearcat thing going.
I am fired up.
Takes it all the way. Oh! It's going to be Little.
I wonder how Steve Logan would be over in Afghanistan or somewhere. I bet he'd be pretty poised. He just does not get rattled.
Van Exel, he'll cut it loose. Watch out. Stevenson cuts it about. Oh! Kilpatrick outruns everybody. Johnson, the exclamation point.
We've been dealt the king of heartbreak over and over again.
Rozier. Smith and
Everything they worked for was undone on one play.
But I see the light. The Cats are back. Lukosius, open three, got it! Oh, baby! Welcome to the only live Bearcats postgame show on YouTube. This is Chatterbox Bearcats.
Welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats. I'm your host, Hudson Klauke. We got Chuck Walter live from Las Vegas in an Uber of some sort, cooking up parlays as we speak. Positive vibes today on this show. We've had a lot of negative shows, Chuck. You like what some of the Power 5 conference games that you watch with teams that are kind of out of it, you'll see nobody in the stands. We're still packing the arena, man. Chuck, how are we feeling? How's Vegas?
It's good. We are no longer in Vegas. We're heading back there tonight, but we are at one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Hoover Dam, and the 8th wonder of the world, the Cincinnati Bearcats, because this team doesn't do anything against Quad 1, but against Quad 2, they're the best team in America, man. It makes me think that if we were in the American again, we'd probably be just fine. I do have a gripe with this game, though. I bet the under of 132.5 because I was at the MGM sports book and there was absolutely no way I was putting money on Cats minus 7.5. The money line, I'm not messing with that minus 250 juice, and I would never put money on TCU. This game was like a 90-point total with 6 minutes to go in the game, and I lost the bet. It was Jizzle James hitting a top of the key jumper after Jamie Dixon had called off the Dogs to lose the bet. So that's a little friendly fire from Jizzle. That's where my head's at right now. But overall, man, this team looked good without CMOS.
Yeah, they did. I still want CMOS on this roster. I know he struggled. I still want him. So 75-63, I don't even think I mentioned it. 75-63 again. We did cover the spread. And we started out hot, man. This is the hottest game. I think it was 13-0. We gave up 6 total points, I think, in the first 10 minutes. Our defense was swarming. And, they mentioned it multiple times in the broadcast. We have a top 25 in Ken Palm as far as defense is considered. It honestly is just frustrating, though. It's like, where was this all season? Because you can see the glimmers of what this team should be and can be. And it's just a shame we didn't, too little, too late, probably. But we're still rooting on the guys. But what did you think from the defensive effort today?
Swarming, man. It took them, there was like 5 minutes left in the first half, and they were at like 8 points or something insane before they rattled off a few there at the end. I thought they looked awesome, man. On-ball defense, help defense. Aziz looked great down low. Dylan Mitchell, man. Give the shouts to him with the double-double. He looked awesome. I thought overall we made TCU look bad, and that's a team that has won a lot of Big 12 games, and when that is your takeaway from this game, hey, TCU's awful. That means you did something to make them look awful. So overall, I thought it was good. Guard play, excellent. Jizzle continues to show that this is not a flash in the pan when he's knocking down those mid-range shots. He's for real. We got a weird lineup early of like Betsey and CJ Frederick and Josh Reed. And from there, it was pretty much most of the starters the rest of the game. But I got to tell you, man, that Josh Reed and one dunk at the end of the game, Josh Reed's becoming a staple in this lineup all of a sudden. Another great game at double figures.
Yeah, he's stacking up double figures. It just pisses me off staring at it. TCU is now 8-8 in conference, and we're 6-10. Like, we're a better team than TCU, and certainly doesn't show. If we were just 8-8 in conference, we'd be talking about March Madness. We'd be talking about, what are we getting, a 9 seed, maybe an 8 seed? So it's just frustrating, but we did everything that you want us to do. Won the rebound battle, 39-32. 15-17 from the line, Chuck, 88%. We haven't seen that all year. So that is probably an anomaly, but we will take that anytime we can. And you mentioned Dylan Mitchell. He might have listened to the last show, Chuck, when I was like, put your goddamn ass on somebody and box out. 13 rebounds, season high for Dylan Mitchell. So he was all over the boards. We'll run through the starters here. Dylan Mitchell, 4 of 5, 12 points, 13 boards, like I mentioned. Aziz Bandago, 3 of 4, 6 boards, 7 points. Jizzle James had 18, 4 assists, 4 boards. Day Thomas with 13 and Josh Reed with 13. You're going to take that out of your starters any day of the week. But that brings me to our guy, our bench. It was essentially just Dan Skillings and Tyler Betsey. Betsey could not hit a 3 to save his life today. That's okay. Dan Skillings, though, I saw some flashes of the old Dan today. He only finished with 7, 3 of 7 from the field, 4 rebounds, fouled out of the game, actually. But what'd you think from Dan Skillings? A lot of people have been piling on him.
I thought he looked great, and I thought our interior game in general, not even from, Aziz scoring down low or anything, but just getting the ball close to the rim and making easy plays, offensive rebounds. Like, I thought he kind of was the catalyst of that off the bench. Skillings, it's the curious case, man. It's not Benjamin Button. It's the curious case of Dan Skillings, because he was our best player to start Big 12 play. It was those first 3 games. I mean, against Kansas State, I had a buddy text me that is a Providence fan. I've brought him up many times on this show. And he was like, Dan Skillings is heading to the league, man. This guy's a star. And he did that for like the first 3 games of Big 12 play, and something to do with confidence. And then you hear all the chatter from Cats fans saying, no, it's actually NIL related. He's just sitting out and doesn't necessarily care about the season. We all know that's a bunch of BS being stewed up in the message boards. But it's a game of runs. It's a game where you go as your confidence takes you, and I think he's playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder right now. Can he do it for back-to-back games, and can he do it against the Houston Cougars? Because we all know that these are the types of games that Wes Miller wins, right? When we give up on the team, when we say it's over, when he's playing a team that's middle of the pack, these are the games that we typically win. But can we follow it up with an insane performance and start beating the likes of Baylor and Houston? Just one of these games, can we win? That is the question. The answer thus far has been no, but there's, as Wes says, there's still a lot of season left here, Danny.
And the thing that always confuses me as far as like, oh, these guys got paid, so now they don't care. Like, Dan Skillings didn't make generational wealth this year. You know what would actually make him a ton of money is if he played awesome and got drafted into the NBA, or played, whatever, overseas and got a huge contract. So these guys aren't just quitting because they made $300,000 in a single year, unless they're complete idiots, which I don't think was the case with Dan Skillings really ever. I know people like to pile on that. But I do have breaking news, Chuck. Wes Miller just got his first quad 1 win of the season. BYU is now quad 1. We are now 1-10. So congrats to Wes. The quad 2 merchant has now catapulted into 1 quad 1 victory. We will take it. But you mentioned, I mean, it's like too little too late because we got Baylor and Houston.
We're a tournament team. I've said that, man. I think we're a tournament team. I think we could compete with the likes of Wake Forest and SMU and some of these teams from the ACC and maybe Vanderbilt from the SEC. I think we could compete. You throw us in as an 11 seed. I mean, we're dangerous with the way we defended today. And if Jizzle and some of these guys can make their outside shots, we can win a game or 2 in the tournament. But we've dug ourselves in such a hole. I mean, you go back to Utah and Utah, Kansas State and Manhattan. You flip one of those 2 games, it's a completely different season. You flip them both, we're probably locked in at this point, just about.
No, it's just a couple of games here and there, and we were certainly in it. I mean, just beating West Virginia would have just been colossal. We'd be feeling a lot better. Niehaus mentioned UCF was briefly a quad 1. I think that might be a quad 3 at this point. UCF has completely gone off the rails, 7 straight losses. It just sucks looking down this schedule. It's like you just beat Utah on the road. We're talking about something completely different here. Now you got to beat Baylor and you got to beat Houston on the road. So it's going to be really difficult to do. I know people were getting pissed off. Everybody was like, why are we even talking about the hypothetical? When I was on Off the Bench about, would you fire Wes Miller? I'm like, well, yeah, it's meritocracy here. He hasn't gotten it done in 4 years. God forbid we talk about hypotheticals. We're fans. Regardless of the contract, we're talking about it.
Yeah, if you don't want to talk about hypotheticals, shut down sports talk radio. That's all it is. That's all it's been for 50 years.
Well, it's like, how many times can we do the same show and be like, what the hell is this team doing? Like, what do you want to break down the West Virginia back cuts that we let go? So you do like to see, though, Wes Miller, he's still got these guys playing hard. The energy was there. The 50-50 loose balls, we were all over them today. I feel like I haven't seen that like all year. It felt like every 50-50 ball went the other way. Granted, TCU could not hit a shot to save their lives. We did make them just look legitimately bad. And that's why looking at them being, 500 in the Big 12 and us at 6-10 is so infuriating. How about that Day missed dunk? You probably thought that was going to be good for the under. I was like, oh shit, here we go again. West Virginia collapse. Day, just lay the ball in, man. Just lay the ball into the basket. He has to lead the country in missed dunks, right?
All I needed, man, was for Cincinnati to keep that 17-point lead, because once TCU started fouling, it was toast. And I just needed Cincy to slow down the game, keep that 17-point lead, because most of the times when you're looking at the last 5 minutes of the game, you're talking a combined 10, 15 points, something along those lines. And it was like 30 points, the final 5 minutes of the game. So devastation on the Day missed dunk. Is there any chance, man, that 9-11 could potentially get us in the tournament? You lose to Houston, you beat the rest of the schedule. The bubble kind of falters a bit. The teams above us lose. Is there any chance we're playing that March music at all, or is it completely over? Because we never know, right? Like the computers seem to like us.
The computers do like us, and that would put us at 2 quad 1 wins if all these games remain the same. That would be beating Baylor, and then you lose another one. So
0 quad 3 losses is one way.
Right. We have no bad losses, in the bubble is a shitstorm. I mean, we're talking, it's so embarrassing to not even be in the tournament right now. If you look at the bubble, there's a combined like 5 quad 1 wins of the whole bunch. And we're still on Lenardi's like considered line at this point. We're not even in, next 4 out or anything, which makes sense. I mean, we just haven't, you got to beat West Virginia. You had to do it. You didn't do it. But yeah, no, I think there's certainly a chance. And then you have to start wondering at that point, does the Big 12 conference play matter? Because remember last year, it seemed like they just didn't consider what happened in conference tournaments at all. That's something we could talk about down the road, but for the sake of the show, yeah, I think if we beat Baylor and lose to Houston and win out the rest, I think you're definitely considered. You're in that bubble talk at least.
You're in like the next 4 out probably, which is all we want as fans. I just said like sweat, get to the point where it's Selection Sunday and we're at least on a line to where our name it's brought up to John Rothstein and to Bunker Boy and all these different guys. Could Cincinnati make the tournament? And they just say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's all I want. I just want our name to be brought up on that day, pre-selection show Sunday.
Yeah, and that there's going to be some team that gets in that just has a terrible resume, and you'll be able to crop both of the resumes next to each other and be like, this is a travesty. We got snubbed. This is ridiculous. Hypothetical again, Chuck. If we don't make the tournament, which most likely we will not make the NCAA tournament, can we really go to the NIT again? Can we actually accept that?
No.
You have to say no, right?
You get the pitchforks out if you're a fan base. I said no last year, and by the end of it, I was kind of happy we did it because it was a continuation of last year into this year with the roster that you had, and it just made sense to get Jizzle some reps and to get some of the younger guys some reps in the NIT. But when it comes to this year and the talk of roster turnover and just some of the players that are leaving anyways that we know, it makes more sense to hit the portal ASAP and turn down the NIT. But Wes seems like one of these guys that he's playing. If he's got games on the schedule, he's taking them, right? The free basketball, I'm a competitor. I'm gonna go in there and try to win this thing. We're gonna try to hang a banner. As a fan, I say absolutely not. I think he'd probably accept it. What about you?
No, I think he 100% would, and I think he'd probably ask the players. And then you got, guys like Aziz Bandago and CMOS who are seniors. Are they really going to say no? They want to stop playing college basketball. So I feel like we're probably going to play in the damn NIT again, which is sickening. And I know our guy Brendel had, a tweet from like 4 years ago, and he was asking people within the athletic department, hey, what are your thoughts on NITs? And they were like, we don't play in that shit at all. And then we proceeded to play in like the next 3. So I don't know. It's just frustrating. Even when you see him play well, it's almost frustrating because you're like, where was this all season? What happened in January? But here we are, man. 6-10 in conference. Good win. It's a quad 2 win. We will take it. TCU is kind of in the same area as far as the bubble is concerned, both in that considered line. Not really a chance to get in. The problem is TCU has some good statement wins. Like we don't. We have BYU at home. That's it. That's all we have right now. And he beat Xavier. So you got to give him credit for that, I guess.
All right. You guys want a tour of the Hoover Dam, one of the 7th wonders of the world? I just wanted to sit in the sports book all day, man. Have some 9 a.m. Miller Lights. And my father and brother said we have to go see one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Hoover Dam. So that's where we are right now. Let's flip this camera real quick.
The Hoover Dam. See, you don't get this anywhere else. I didn't even know where the Hoover Dam was, dude. I was like, wait a minute. I thought the Hoover Dam was like down south or something. Completely wrong.
No, one of the 7 wonders of the world, and we were watching the second half of the Bearcats game. First half in the sports book at MGM, and the second half the entire ride out here. And I was just sweating the under the entire time, and I got to tear up that ticket when I get home, and I could have just taken Cats minus 7.5. One of the fishiest lines you will ever see. I mean, it just screamed take TCU money line, and the Cats got it done, man.
Is Vegas still thriving, or I haven't been since like DraftKings opened up in every single state. You can, do a 14-leg parlay from your couch. How are the vibes in Vegas? Is it still popping off or what?
I mean, it's packed. It's ass packed for sure. But the sports book last night, there weren't a ton of people there watching the UC UNLV baseball game on the big screen with the 1-camera broadcast, which was shocking to me. I mean, this is the hometown team. I flew all the way out here to be immersed in the vibes that is UNLV baseball, and to see a Cincinnati baseball series sweep. And yeah, there weren't a lot of people watching it. They were more focused on that Michigan State-Michigan game. But anyways, I know that Lily's popping in the show here soon. I'm gonna head up to the Hoover Dam, see one of the wonders of the world. You take us home, man. Get through the box score, the remaining schedule. I'll help you produce this thing, and throw the link in the chat if anyone wants to pop in. You enjoy your Saturday, but it's Hoover Dam time, baby. I'm gonna see what all this hype's about.
Yeah, if anybody wants to pop in. All right, Chuck, no, appreciate you joining. Go check out the Hoover Dam. I will most likely never, ever go see the Hoover Dam. So take some pictures. Let me know how it is, brother.
Will do. Peace.
What did I just do? I think I just screwed something up. All right. So that was Chuck Walter. He's out in Vegas, obviously. Big win, though, man. 75-63. I'm trying to get the link in here if anybody wants to join. We'll see if Lily can jump in here. It is funny. Who would have thought at this point, our best program right now, we got UC baseball ranked in the top 25, first time in school history. And then if you're really into the weeds, our dodgeball team, I didn't know they made rankings. We're 7th. We're 7th in dodgeball too. So we might actually start flipping this into a dodgeball podcast at some point. But taking a look at this again, 75-63. Player of the game. I mean, you could go between a guy like Jizzle James. He had 18 points, 7-16, not super efficient. But again, he's putting the ball in the basket, and a lot of times he's our best offense. We only shot 20% from 3, which when you win a game by 12 and easily could have been 20-plus points, they kept them around in it. They went on a couple of runs, but we kept that lead to we kept them off a little bit. And you almost saw a collapse like you saw against West Virginia to end this game. It was getting a little dicey, but shooting 20% from 3 and still winning by 12. Big home win for Wes. I know we've ragged on him for not winning big home games, and it's another quad two. Unfortunately, we got Baylor on, assuming that's a Tuesday. So we got Baylor on Tuesday at home, 7:00. I can only assume Fifth Third Arena, regardless of this disappointment of a season, is going to be on fire. I mean, we root for our guys. We absolutely root for our guys. You need to go out to that game for sure, because if you win that, then we can start really talking and convince ourselves maybe we'll beat Houston on the road. But that's going to be a big one. That's a quad one again. He has yet to win a quad one game at home. So this is going to be huge for, the program. The last 4 years has been a struggle, especially against solid opponents. We seem to beat the teams that we're supposed to beat, but we can't steal any of these games. The Iowa State game comes to mind that I actually feel like we had a real chance of winning. I think the refs took it out of our control. I still hate those refs. I got to get the names of that entire ref lineup that came out that night. But the rest of the schedule, you got Baylor, then you got at Houston, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State. You really got to win all four of them. If you beat Baylor, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State, and you lose to Houston and then make some noise in the tournament, the Big 12 tournament, then you have a chance. Then you still have a chance. So, at this point, that's all we're hoping for is a chance to be considered to go into the NCAA tournament. And now we got Lily, thank God. Here we go. I was run out of things to say, Lily. I'm I'm not a Chuck Walter. I'm not a Colin Coward. I can't just spew into the mic by myself. Lily, you were at the game, man. How are the vibes?
First of all, you were killing it there, Houdini. I caught 30 seconds of it, though, to be fair. So, just a typical noon game. It wasn't too rowdy. You could tell the fans are still a little skeptical of what's going on. But, during the game, the vibes were good. Even like the TCU run, it kind of switched things a little, and you could hear a couple groans in the upper deck. And the questionable, I'm sure you talked about a lineup or two in the first half during that run that TCU had. Some groans about the lineups from Wes again. But after that, it was pretty laid back. There were some big cheers too, but the game kind of deserved that, it didn't feel like we really deserved to kill them by that much, but it also didn't feel like TCU showed up at all. It was really odd after how good they've been playing lately.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, I hate this question, but I'm going to ask it. Did UC go out and win this game, or did TCU just lose it? Because they really looked like they were lollygagging out there. You would have never thought this team has been, one of the hottest teams in the Big 12. They look like they were sleepwalking.
And I've been watching TCU. I was pretty concerned about this game. I know they're bad. I know, but
they just beat Texas Tech.
Sometimes you catch teams at the wrong time, and it felt like we might be catching them at the wrong time. But the thing so we've won 4 of 6 now. And the two games we lost, they were road games, and we were expected to lose by Vegas and stuff like that. Obviously, you want to win one of those because we put ourselves in this position. But I know it's not 85 points the last couple games, but are we in a mini run here and just not really realize it because we're so busy crashing out about the West Virginia? I don't think we'll know until Tuesday.
We're gonna find it. Yeah, I was like, we're gonna find out real quickly if we're any good when we play Baylor. Because, we did go on a mini run, but when you look at it, it's UCF and Utah, which, we're going to take those wins. They're not, some world beaters. The one game that still kind of stands the test of time is that BYU win. Other than that, you're just beating teams that you should beat that, aren't, they're the bottom dwellers of the Big 12. So it's hard to say because he's beaten all the teams he should. The Utah game on the road was the one where it's like, you got to win that, and we didn't. I thought a big measuring stick game was that West Virginia game. You just had to win that game. I know we were underdogs. They're without their best player, Javon Small at this point is probably their best player, but DeVries is out. First-year coach. We should win that game. We should absolutely win that game, and now we're dealing with an uphill battle. But we'll find out. You're right. We'll find out against Baylor because if we go and get smoked by Baylor, then none of this means anything. We're like, all right, we are who we thought we were. We went 2-8 to start. We just stink. So we'll see. Chuck is back. I guess I'll bring him back in. He's got the Hoover Dam in the background. Chuck.
Hey, fellas, this is just live correspondence. I'm not actually going to say anything. I'll pop out in a second. It's loud.
Oh,
damn.
Chuck, thank you. So Hoover Dam, you're right. That is a beautiful sight for those listening on audio. They're going to be very,
Gorgeous.
very confused. But Lily, did you ever think, were you worried at all in this game at the stadium? I know you mentioned some groans, maybe some boos. Were you ever worried that we were going to let this thing slip away like we did against West Virginia?
No, it never got to that point. I thought we responded pretty well after the runs. It's just the runs felt so, the Page thing and then the small ball Mitchell thing didn't work a little, and TCU was getting easy buckets, but we responded well. We had 31 at half, so hell of a second half there. Honestly, the second half, I can't remember UC getting that many great looks off of passes from our guards to bigs running at the rim. And I want to blame TCU on that probably. It just felt like TCU was just messing up all the time. Dylan had a good game. He was frustrating me a little on defense, but
he had 13 boards, Lily. Give Dylan some flowers, okay?
Yeah. He missed one, and I crashed out. Then I saw he had 11. I was like, what am I doing here? The things that stood out to me, I thought Day set the tone early on defense. I thought TCU's guards just looked so uncomfortable. They weren't getting any good looks. I know they were missing some shot. It's rare to miss that many shots in a row to start a game, but we were making them uncomfortable straight out of the gate. That's good to see. That's been a recurring theme during this, if you want to call it 4 of 6, a run. Day has showed up early in those games for the most part. And I thought Aziz had a great game, was playing his tail off. And then I assume you already talked about Dan.
Yeah, I was asking Chuck. I'm like, I saw some.
What is going on here, man?
I saw some old school Dan today. He only finished with 7. He had 21 minutes played. 2 blocks, 4 rebounds, a steal, just typical Dan Skillings stuff. Not to the level that we saw last season by any means, but I saw some flashes of that's what we expected here. What did you think of Dan Skillings today? I take it as a reminder for myself to be careful how we talk about players, because the rumors a couple weeks ago that he's going to quit and stuff. It's like, what? I don't think it's effort related really with Dan. I think it's maybe the extra, maybe not fully all in, stuff like that. But he's
trying hard when he's out there, and when he looks dumb a lot when he tries hard and it doesn't work. So again, I'm not expecting some crazy resurgence from Dan down the stretch. I think we kind of know what's going to happen there, but it's good to see, especially with CMOS out. If some magic does happen here, he's going to have to be a part of it at this point.
Yeah, and it seems like we kind of have an identity now, at least offensively. It's, the Day and Jizzle show. And if you're looking at efficiency-wise, wasn't great again. 7 of 16, 5 of 15. But those seem to be the 2 guys that we're going to. They've played great probably the last, 6 games or so. A couple duds here and there. But those seem to be the guys that we're running the offense through exclusively now. We're not dealing with the CMOS thing, the Dan Skillings thing. It's those 2 guys. They're the engine of this offense. And I think it's opened up a ton of things. Obviously, when Jizzle James can hit shots, granted, nobody could hit a 3, regardless of team today. I mean, hell, since he went 4 of 20 and TCU went 6 of 23. Just a disgusting display of 3-point shooting. But I like the offense when it runs through guys like Day Thomas and Jizzle James. Now, the issue there is it'd be really nice if one of those guys was about 6'6", because it's really tough for them to get into the lane and be able to finish over bigger defenders. But I think that's your best bet right now, is to run the offense through those 2 guys and, let guys like Josh Reed do the off-ball cutting, Dylan Mitchell, the alley-oops, Aziz, when he has an alley-oop, please don't pass it to him in the post for the love of God. But I think that's kind of how this offense has been the last 6 games. I think it's going to continue. I think it's been much better than we saw earlier in the season when Jizzle James looked like he forgot how to play basketball.
Yeah, we're up to 94 in offense on KenPom. I think we got to do a study on this team like after the season, because we were like top 10 in offense at one point. Then we got to 130 in offense. Now we're climbing back up the ladder to 90. Obviously, this is a poor offense, and we know like where we are now. But it's been a roller coaster. Do you think? I'm curious what you think, Houdini, about the small ball lineup. It didn't kill us tonight the whole time, but I just feel like when it's in, the other team, if they get past our perimeter defenders, it's a layup every time. And to me, it's because Mitchell's a little limited at the 5, but also our small ball lineup doesn't really have anybody at the 4 that's going to help him. Dylan would be the guy at the 4 if we had another small ball 5 that would work. That would work, I think. But do you think we could do that against Baylor? They've got their 6-7 guys.
Well, I've been clamoring for the small ball lineup for a long time, and you might be right. It's like pick your poison. Do you want to have that spacing on the offensive end, a little more space, or do you want to get crushed on the boards and on the defensive side? Because you're right. Like, it seems like it is a fast track right to the layup if they get by their perimeter defender and there's no help side defense, there's no rim protection. You would think Dylan Mitchell would be like a better rim protector. He can jump over the backboard, but you don't really see it. When he's out there, we just seem so small. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's something where you got to look at individual teams and the matchups to see if that makes sense. He's going to have to go to it at some point against Baylor. They're big guys out. They're going to be relatively smaller. So I think you could maybe get away with it against Baylor, but we'll see. I mean, I was saying before we played Baylor, I was like, I love this matchup. I absolutely love this matchup. We lost by 30. So
I was so convinced we were going to win that game.
Yeah. I was like, what? I was like, this is a good spot for us. Because I don't think Baylor's that great. I really don't. And they've been dealing with a ton of injuries. Jeremy Roach is awesome. But now you're seeing Jizzle James kind of get to that level of like a Jeremy Roach contributor. So everything's different now. And you're right, as far as this team is so confusing. And that's why it sucks doing these live shows. Because I'm like, I swear to God, I watched a different team 2 weeks ago. So all these takes have been all over the place. We're scoring 50, then we're scoring 90. You can't, you don't know what you're going to get when this team lines up. I mean, I will say over this mini run, they're starting to get some of that identity back where you're like, all right, we're not going to put up 40 points. Granted, the West Virginia game was tough. Without those Dan Skillings threes, we were sitting right at 50. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this team. For all I know, we're going to go rip off and 5 straight and beat Houston on the road.
And it's a shame that we're having identity questions in February, right? But if you look at it, that's our problem, right? We don't have one. And if we do, it's for a week. But we have a couple weeks left here. If this trend continues and we do finish strong and something happens, we can say that we found our identity. It just took too long and maybe still have some fun here. I didn't really freak out after the West Virginia game because I like to protect myself. After the West Virginia home game, I was like, I'm sorry. I'm not letting these guys hurt me again. So
you're smart.
I'm still not all the way all back in, but if you beat Baylor on Tuesday and you look good, it's like maybe I can talk myself into be 9-11 and then win 3 games in Kansas City, something like that. But I know damn well we're gonna match up against Houston or Iowa State in Kansas City. So what's the point, right?
Well, it's like Iowa State's a great team, like a national title type of team. And I thought we played awesome against them. We had every opportunity to win that game. That's why I'm like, I have some semblance of hope that maybe we could give Houston a game. But you're right. It all starts at Baylor. If we beat Baylor, Elliot asked me on the show earlier this week, how many times are we going to do the Cats are dead, the Cats are alive this season? And I said, I think it ends. I was like, I think we're going to lose to TCU on Saturday and we'll call it a wrap. Did not happen. They came out firing, man. So if we beat Baylor, no, Wes.
I was with you on that.
Wes,
I was with you on that.
Yeah, like I thought like this is the perfect letdown game. They just blew a big one. They're just going to come out lollygagging. They didn't at all. So credit to the kids and Wes Miller for getting these guys fired up. But if they beat Baylor, man, Wes Miller's just stringing me along. Like I'm jumping right back on going, wait a minute, everybody settle down. Because then we'd probably actually get back into bubble conversation. Like with the bracketologists, we'd actually probably slip into like, one of the next 4 out, whatever the hell they do. Sniffing around, as some of them say. We'd be in that stratosphere. So we'll see what happens. I just love rooting for this team, man. I don't care what happens. I'm going to be watching every game. I know some people said they're not even watching anymore. The fans didn't think so. That place was packed, right? Wasn't it damn near sold out?
It sure felt like it. I don't know if it was announced as that, but it was close if it wasn't.
Do you have any issues with the beer not being cold because of the power outages, or was that all taken care of?
I skipped beer because I had to rush home. I wanted to make sure I was prompt.
That's a company man.
Yeah.
Thank God you did, because I was running out of shit to say, and I'm like, if Lily doesn't get on here in 2 minutes, I'm wrapping this thing up.
But you mentioned bracketology, and one of my buddies that I tailgate with is a bracketologist. He's Sluter Bracketology. He's number 12 on Bracket Matrix. He's a really good bracketologist. He's a UC fan. And I'm going to start tweeting out his brackets starting next Friday. He sent me a prompt of 8 teams and their resumes, and I had to put them in order. And I got pretty close to his. But the point of it here is, my God, the bubble. Like, there are 5 teams. Like, our fans, we rip on our team for having 0 or 1 quad 1 losses, wins, which we should, because we should have more than 1. But there's quite a few teams in that boat with us. Like, it's pathetic that it's at this point. But if you go on a run, we are on the fringe of the bubble still. But like I said earlier, I'm not really getting invested into that until something happens that makes, like, if we beat Baylor.
So we beat Baylor.
Sure, I'll start thinking about it.
You beat Baylor, and I would guess the spread, Lily. Guess the spread for the Baylor game. I think that's going to be tricky as hell. A home game. Vegas loves UC. Yeah, like if I'm just a casual
Baylor,
fan,
they're kind of trending the wrong way, you know.
Well, I'm surprised it's still quad 1. They're right. They're literally like 29, I think. So if we beat them, it might actually fall to a quad 2. I don't know how that's going to work. The net rankings are stupid as hell. I might be on Jeff Goodman's side. Some of these net rankings, I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what? Excuse me? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think if you go in there, you beat Baylor, then we can digest it at that point, see where we're at. But you're right. I think you mentioned, was it like Texas last year that had a similar? They had like 1 quad 1 win and didn't have any bad losses. Us. Yeah, they beat us, of course, on our home floor. So there's certainly opportunity just due to the bubble being that bad. So anytime somebody wants to expand the damn tournament, shut that down immediately. We do not need more teams in this damn thing. Like the bubble teams, UC, all things considered, I love UC. I am biased towards UC. They have not played tournament level basketball this season. They just haven't. I would love to get in. I would absolutely love to get in. First off, it would help our show, Lily, wouldn't it? If we could do a little road trip to Indianapolis or something as a 11 seed, it'd be fantastic.
I'm sorry, they don't need to expand. And, you know, I mean, I just want UC to get in every year, but we don't deserve to get, it's like, I don't need to see this team play unless they earn it. Now we're going to be on the bubble and deserve to get in and then not get in, and that'll get clipped. But something to remember for the Big 12 tournament is it's neutral. So 1 through 50 is quad 1. So we'll talk about that in a week or two, probably once we start seeing what the bracket's looking like. But getting a good bracket draw with some Q1 like those BYUs of the world would be nice. I did want to say one more thing. I'm sure you talked about Josh Reed. What is going on? Stuff like this is just why sports are so cool to me. The stuff he's doing, we just have never seen from him before. Like, and just so these guys are practicing, and you hear the players talk up Josh Reed and the coaches, and we're all just like, come on, man, it's Josh Reed. But then stuff like this makes you realize that it's confidence, it's your role. And you see why the coach trusts him, because he was playing his role before. And now when he has his chance, he's doing stuff that we'd never seen before. Other teams aren't seeing this on the scout. They're like, what the heck is this? Like, give him that. Sure. And whatever it was, 3 weeks ago on here, I talked about, maybe we find something down the stretch that we weren't expecting. I would have had 5 guesses and not had this one.
No, so we touched on Josh Reed, but not enough. I mean, 5 of 5. He played 27 minutes. He had 13 points. And when you look at Josh Reed in a vacuum, you go, okay, I mean, he seems like almost like a MAC level player. There's nothing that he does great. He does all the little things. The offense is way more fluid when he's on the floor because he knows his role. Granted, he had a couple interesting he had like a fadeaway attempt in a critical moment against West Virginia, which I was like, all right, Josh, relax. That dunk was sick against BYU, but settle down. But he knows his role. He's not a ball stopper. He knows that he's not the go-to guy. Off-ball cutting, just, basic pre-K basketball. Cut, move around, get some motion going. He does all that stuff. So the offense just moves so much better when he's out on the floor. And now it's like you can't take Josh Reed out of the starting lineup. And I'm interested to see what happens if and when Simas Lukosius comes back. Because I got a couple of texts, which I totally disagree with. They're like, we're better without Simas. I'm like, dude, what? I want Simas playing on this team. You can argue, should he be getting the amount of minutes he's getting? Game? Yeah, I was like, well, we just looked like dog shit against West Virginia. Could not score to save our lives. I don't hate the idea of a guy that, on a good year can shoot damn near 40% from 3. So do you think if Simas comes back, they're going to flip him into the starting lineup, put our Lord and Savior Josh Reed on the bench?
I can't believe this is going to be a talking point. I didn't realize till you just said it, but that's going to be a talking point.
Yeah. No, they're going to be like debating, like, wait a minute, we're going to take Josh Reed, our third best player, out of the starting lineup. I mean, it's whatever. I don't know if it even matters, but it's interesting.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, whatever Wes decides with that works. But if he does, I think he's earning more minutes. That's for sure. Like whether it's Dan or taking some minutes from Dan and Simas, or easing Simas back in and letting Reed keep doing the 25-30 thing. All I know is it's awesome. If he didn't emerge, we're spiraling just like we about a month ago, we thought we might lose every game, right? Even me, I was starting to be like, what am I watching here? Like, is this actually happening? So there, Josh Reed, potentially season saver.
Well, and Digital Dude just mentioned in the comments, Simas off the bench for 3. And I actually think if I'm Wes Miller, I put him in that second unit, have him come off the bench because our bench hasn't given us much at all. I wouldn't hate having a second unit of Dan Skillings and Simas Lukosius coming in because he has shrunk this bench drastically. I mean, you're looking at Dan Skillings played 21 minutes, Betsey played 18, and then Frederick with 8. Then you're looking at Ayrton Page and Rayvon Griffith, both played 2 minutes each. So he's not really – it's basically like get a breather and we're bringing our guys back in, which we've been wanting him to do that for years now. And he's finally doing it. Obviously his head's on the chopping block right now, or he's feeling the heat at least. So I don't necessarily hate having another guy that can, shoot from the perimeter, coming off the bench and get some bench scoring, because if Josh Reed's going to put up double digits, man, like I'd take that 10 out of 10 times.
I just can't believe this is happening, but it's a good problem to have. Players playing good is good. Having to make uncomfortable decisions because of players playing well is a good place to be. Shame that it took this long, but one thing I wanted to see today real quick that didn't happen was Betsey hitting a 3. I thought that would have been nice for him to kind of
he had one.
He didn't get too much crap for that, right? Just because we didn't deserve to send that to OT, right? Like, and it was a long 3 and whatever. But
no, I didn't.
It would have been cool for him to get one in there.
Yeah, because he went on that little hot streak, and then he's been pretty ice cold lately. And some of them don't even look like they're close on some of these 3 attempts.
I thought he did some good new things though. Like you saw, he got pretty into it on that rebound and putback.
I want to see him drive a little bit more. He's got such a big frame, and he's actually not quite as slow as maybe you would think, at least initially that I thought. It seems like he's just comfortable on the perimeter. He had some decent moves getting in there, and he's, like I said, he's 6'7", right? Like, he's a big body. I would like to see him get closer to the rim. I still like Betsey. I don't give a shit that he went, 1 of 6, 0 of 4 from 3. He's a freshman.
Yeah.
You see where the potential lies there. Now, we're probably going to get some – are they going to do the same thing with Josh Reed now that they did with Jizzle James? They're going to be like, dude, Alabama, Nate Oates is going to come with a bag for Josh Reed. Like, you got to be worried about Josh Reed, heading over to Kansas with Bill Self or something. We'll probably see some jackasses say that, and I love it. I love it.
That would be – I mean, if that happens, it's just whatever, right? Like, can't win that.
Yeah, he starts at Duke next season. No, but credit to Josh Reed, man. He's been fantastic in his role that is now completely bigger than anyone would have thought. I mean, we thought he wasn't even going to be in the rotation. Here he is starting, and he's playing great minutes. So, Lily, that's all I got for this game. Again, we got Baylor on Tuesday. That's the measuring stick game. I feel like we've said this 1,000 times. We typically lose these games. Maybe we can get a W. What's your prediction? We'll leave it at that. We'll end the show with Lily's prediction. Baylor, 7 o'clock on Tuesday. What happens?
I thought we were going to lose today.
So did I.
So I should probably pick us to lose, right? I think we're going to win. Yeah, I think Baylor's – I've had this thing in my head, though, so I've been looking for it. I'm going to watch them play Colorado today, which is about to start here in an hour. They are so thin. They're short. They've been short for a couple games, so we have film on how they're trying to play now. This should be a win, guys. Come on. Like, just like the BYU game. Like, this is one of those. Like, BYU, obviously Baylor has more high-end talent. They've got the NBA guys other than Dimon, but we should win this one, guys, at home.
I'm worried sick to play Edgecombe again. That dude.
He's also better now, by the way. He looks great.
He's unreal. Every time I watch Baylor, I'm like, Jesus, dude. Like,
real quick, we cannot go small if that guy's on the floor because he beats his guy every time. If he gets heading to the rim, we're screwed. So maybe Paige can do something.
He's a freak. And I don't even know what, off the top of my head, what he put up against us, but it had to have been like 18 points. He was awesome. I mean, this isn't rocket science. Everyone knows he's awesome. He's projected to be like the 5th pick in the NBA draft. So that's going to be the one guy that maybe single-handedly can beat us. So I'm assuming Wes and staff are putting together some type of a game plan. Defense looked great today. Hopefully they can take that momentum into Baylor, and we can keep this thing going. Keep the morale high, positive shows, positive vibes, and at least keep us hanging on to a little bit of hope because it's February. It's the worst goddamn month of the year. I need my Bearcats to be playing in meaningful basketball games, and we still are, kind of. We probably have like an 8% chance to make the tournament if I had to do my projections right now. You beat Baylor, those odds go way up. So we'll leave it at that. Lily, appreciate it. You guys, Hoover Dam, you got to see that, so you don't see that on every show. Appreciate Chuck hopping on as well. But we will see you. Lily, are you guys doing like I guess you won't even do a show until after Baylor? You and Niehaus?
Maybe we'll throw one up Monday morning or something.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll talk to Niehaus, yeah. It's VJ Edgecombe versus Josh Reed on national television. This is a main event. Whole country's going to be watching. I'm going to hit up Niehaus and make sure we got something.
You know what's great, though? It's like some of these, you can tell, and I don't blame them, some of these announcers, like they clearly didn't watch any of the games we played prior. So there's a chance they'll put up a graphic like star players, like matchup watch, Edgecombe and Josh Reed. Like, because the guy was saying today, he goes, Dan Skillings, I mean, West Virginia, he kind of got out of that dry spell, put up 10 points. And I'm like, well, 6 of those were Hail Mary threes in the last 8 seconds. So I don't know if Dan Skillings necessarily had a great game against West Virginia, but I digress. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Let's keep the fun rolling, dude. I just love getting wins. I know it's quad 2, the quad 2 merchant, Wes Miller, but give him credit. Give these guys credit. They won a game at home. I feel like it's few and far between when we actually win at home. So we will take it. But we will sign off now. Appreciate everybody joining in. Rate and subscribe. Chatterbox Bearcats. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Obviously, we do the YouTube. The audio will be out tomorrow. But appreciate everybody, and we'll talk again soon.